If you have been on my channel for any amount of time, you know that I absolutely adore Kate Stewart and her books. And this year I am on a mission to read all of her books that have been published to date. And so we're talking about how to read her library of books and everything Kate Stewart today. We are breaking down the books, which ones you should read first, which ones I have already read and absolutely love. And as you can see, I have merch too because, like I said, adore. And even though they make me cry like no other, she writes amazing, amazing books. Let's dive in. Her books are packed with intense emotions and fantastic casts of characters that you come to love every single one. I have no idea how she does that. It is amazing, mind-boggling how she does this, but I'm invested in like every single character. But yes, there is also plenty of spice for those that are interested in that. If spice is not your thing, then her books are not going to be your thing. But I love that hers have spice, but so much more. With so many books, though, there's interconnecting characters, stories, different genres. It can be a little overwhelming to figure out, okay, I loved this one book that I read from hers. Where do I go now? So we're breaking that down today. You ready? First things first, this is where I started. Actually, let me take off the blur on this thing. All right, ready. This is what I started with. This is how I became familiar with Kate Stewart books. It is the Ravenhood trilogy, and that is also what I am wearing right here. Let me back up so you can see it in all its glory right here, and right here. Okay. Absolutely fell in love with it. This is where a lot of people start and got exposed to her. And then you just dive into all the other things. And if you have read this, you will start seeing cameos and people that you loved in here show up in other stories as you go on. So definitely read this. And it does not spoil with anything else. So you can read these first if you want to go to this. This will suck you in, at least it did for me. This is absolutely her most talked about series. It is much newer. So as you go back, you may find different things, but it is best experienced blind. So I am not going to spoil it for you by saying anything. Just know that it is full of secrets, passion. There is violence, but unforgettable characters. And of course, as is key with all of her books, lots of spice. Read Flock, Exodus, Finish Line, and there are also legacy series. I don't have One Last Rainy Day, but that is from a perspective of one of the characters, and each one in the legacy series that are still coming. There's two coming in 2025 that I'm so excited about. Each of those goes deeper into like prequels of characters that are in here that you come to love and you just want to know more of their backstory. Like I said, she just makes you love so many of these. You can call them side characters, but they're phenomenal. So there it is. Start there if you want to. Highly, highly recommend. If you have loved it, let me know. Let's be part of the Ravenhood family. Let's be part of the Kate Stewart family. And if you are not in her Facebook group, it's called the Kate Stewart Recovery Room. I'll put it in the description also, so you have that link. But she is active in there. She gives information. A lot of the information I'm sharing in here is from there. So go check it out. We all need a recovery room to be in together because this tore me apart. I was sobbing. I I was broken, but I was sort of put back together. Oh, the emotional damage that has occurred is no joke. So be ready for that. Not all her books are that heart-wrenching and crazy emotional. I think all of them had made me cry so far, but I am a crier. Let's go back into her not as new stuff. But after this, I will say I went to the Bittersweet Melody series, which is Drive, Reverse, and the Bittersweet Melody, which is a novella. Oh my gosh, those are so good too. So good. And I am totally going out of order in how I wanted to talk about it, but this is just the order that I read it in. And for those are again standalone, so there's no big spoilers that you're going to learn. I will absolutely point out where there are spoilers and you want to read certain things first, but Drive, Reverse, and Bittersweet Melody. You can read those separate, and that is fine too. And a fun thing is she has Spotify playlists for all of her books, and especially for Drive and Melody, or Drive, Reverse, and Bittersweet Melody, which revolve around the music scene. That was really cool. And I would love to hear how people listen to that because I could not listen while I read. I just couldn't process both at the same time. But it was fun to listen to it afterward and just relive that, soak it in, just take the playlist and absorb it as she had intended, or at least interpreted it to me. But that's just a fun thing that she does for all of her playlists because clearly music is a big part of her life as well. All right, let's go back to all the way to kind of the beginning where she absolutely says, read Room 212 first before you read some of her other contemporary romances because these are suspense romances. It's thriller like it's fun, but it's dark. It's dark, suspenseful romance, whereas some of her other ones are not. So we have contemporary romances. So Room 212, it's a second chance romance spanning a decade. It's emotional, could be frustrating, and still unforgettable, as are all her books. I have not read it yet. I need to go there, but Room 212, a lot of her contemporary romances, I have not yet read. So let's go through it together. If you want to join me in that challenge of reading all of Kate Stewart's books in 2025, let me know in the comments so we can keep each other accountable. And I'm going to have a little tick mark of how many I've read. We can find each other on Goodreads too. I'm Amy Ann's Reads there too. So Room 212. And you want to read this before some of the other ones because there are characters that show up in that. There's kind of like the first generation and then the second generation of these characters. So Room 212. Then there's also Never Me, which is a self-worth, fate-driven story about a young woman using sex as a weapon until she meets her game changer person. Then there's Loving the White Liar, which is an ADHD partner romance based on her personal experience with her husband. So I'm excited to go read that. That's kind of a fun thing, right? You get to know the author a little bit more in all these different experiences. And when you're in that Facebook group, she chimes in on things that really inspired her in these stories. So it's just kind of a fun thing to be able to do that. Then comes The Real. These are all standalone. It is a swoon-worthy romance that starts through messaging, and this messaging happens at a cafe. It just takes unexpected twists. Obviously, it is a romance. Then there's Someone Else's Ocean, which is a lighter, grumpy sunshine beach read set in St. Thomas. So that's kind of a funner one if you are super, super emotionally spent on all the other ones, because a lot of them are very heavy emotional ones. You might want to go to Someone Else's Ocean. Then you also have Heartbreak Warfare. This one was co-written, and this one is a gut-wrenching military romance packed with a lot of angst and intense emotions. So very different from Someone Else's Ocean, but you have that one. Then you have the Reluctant Romantic series, and for this one, you have to read Room 212 first because this one has character connections to that book, and you just want to read that one first. But it's a series of three: The Fall, The Mind, and The Heart. And I have heard that these are very, very emotional, and so another one that is going to make you sob if you are a crier. But she also has some really fun, if you want to call them romance, dramedies or rom-coms, if you will. And they are sports related. So if you are into sports romances, these will hit home for you. Balls and Play series. This is around baseball. So there's one that's anything but minor. There's Major Love. There is Sweeping the Series. And then The Golden Sombrero is a novella that is supposed to bring it all together and have a reunion of these characters. I would read them in order. They are standalone, as she says, for a lot of them. You could read them separately, but they're just better if you read them in order if you're going to read them all. And another romance dramedy that I have started is one for football, which is the guy on the left, the guy on the right, and the guy in the middle. And I have read one, two so far, actually. And they've made me laugh out loud. They've made me cry. The guy on the right. Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. The guy on the right, guy on the left, and then the guy in the middle. You want to read these in order because there are intertwining things, and if you read them out of order, it's going to spoil stuff that happened in the other one. So the guy on the right, laugh out loud, friends to lovers romance. The guy on the left, it's a single mom romance with lots of push and pull. This one really tugged at my heartstrings because it has a kid that is absolutely hilarious. And I think because I am a parent and a boy mom, this just really struck home for me in the family dynamics, the kid, how to parent, all this kind of stuff. Loved it and laughed out loud in so many different parts. People in the cars around me probably thought I was crazy because I was listening to it. The guy in the middle is a gritty second chance romance with some boxing elements in there as well. Okay, then I did already talk to you, right, about the Bittersweet Symphony duet, which is not really a duet because there's also a third little novella, but Drive, it just gives you all of the feels. It is an angsty love story following Stella's journey of self-discovery and the different people that come into her life in on the way. And Reverse is the second generation. It's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet kind of story, but rock star life. And so you have Drive, Reverse, and they are just, oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say without spoiling it for you if you've read it and you want to have a chat because I could talk about these books all day. Let me know in the comments. I'm always looking for book friends. Then you have Method, which explores the darker side of Hollywood and the life of an extreme method actor. Read Drive before you read Method because otherwise you're going to get huge, huge spoilers. So read Method after. And then you have some newer ones. There's one called Euro Dreams, which is completely standalone as well. And it's a trek where two people are forced proximity, right? And they're traveling across Europe. And of course, things happen, bad things happen. They find a way with each other, and it is just really fun. And if you listen to the audiobook, the narrations on all her audiobooks are fantastic. So if you get a chance to go listen to them instead, highly, highly recommend it. And then there are two Christmas series books. I think it's called the Christmas Hijinks series. It's the Plight Before Christmas and the Slight Before Christmas, and both love it. They just made me laugh. They made me cry. They made me have all the feels of this holiday family love and acceptance. And the first one, it just is this Collins family and follows different people in the Collins family, but so good. The Slight Before Christmas, I think, was my favorite in this series so far because it is about two parents within this family. One of the daughters, her husband, and then her two kids. But the two kids are out of control, and the parents have been married for, a good amount of time. So it is the story of them finding love with each other again, despite all the ups and downs of marriage. And being able to navigate parenting and all the things that come with that, and the baggage that you bring to a marriage, right? Of not thinking you're good enough because of your background or your history or whatever, and being able to accept other people for the way that you just are. and for who you are. So anyway, I absolutely love that. I'm like getting teary just thinking about it again. But this one and also the guy on the left, um, yeah, just hit home for me as a parent. And Kate has said she is not a parent, but she has a lot of children, nieces, nephews, that she has seen a lot of these things and writes about them, and her writing is phenomenal. So, as you can see, her books are a journey. Some will make you laugh super out loud, some will break your heart like you've never expected, and some will leave you just thinking about them for days, weeks, years. They'll never get out of your head. And no matter where you start, you are in for an unforgettable reading experience. Let me know in the comments what your favorite Kate Stewart book is. Don't forget to check the description for more information on these books. And if you want to learn about the audiobooks and hear me rave about them even more, about my favorite audiobooks, including these, head here. Until next time, friends, happy reading. See you in the next video.